Welcome to the Cocktail Guru Podcast,
a show about food, drink, and entertainment,
with a tight focus on the good life,
and all things delicious, luxurious, and fun.
I'm Jonathan Pogash, bartender, author, and the host of Cocktails the Grand Tour.
And I'm Jeffrey Pogash, wine and spirits professional, author, insatiable collector of culinary ephemera, and so people tell me, an engaging raconteur.
And my dad. Here we are again, the Cocktail Guru Podcast. I'm here with Dad, Jeff Pogash.
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm doing well. Well. I wore my special Caliente hot chili pepper shirt in honor of you, Dad, but also in honor of our guest, who herself is Caliente.
Yes. Yes, she is.
But drinking, I have a little drinky poo right over here. That's what I call my drink sometimes, a little drinky poo.
Yeah, that's a great name for a cocktail.
That's funny because I say the same thing. Drinky poo.
And so I've got some Milagro right over here.
Ooh.
The Select Barrel Reserve. Hold on a second.
Tequila.
Hold on a second. I'm just going to do a little shot ski here. Hold on. There we go.
To your health.
To your health, Dad. Before we bring on, we always do this little cocktail toast before we bring on our amazing guest. And it looks like she's pouring herself a dram of something. I thought, in general, I thought that my father, who is obviously here as my co-host, was the foremost expert in historical aspects of all things cocktails and spirits until I met our next guest. Tiffanie Barriere, a.k.a. The Drinking Coach, is a cocktail historian, mixologist, great friend, and, full disclosure, a longtime member of the Cocktail Guru team. Please welcome Tiffanie.
Yay. Welcome, Tiffanie.
Thanks for welcoming me. I'm happy to be here. This is a vibe. I wasn't expecting this kind of energy, but that's what I love. I love bringing energy.
Oh, yeah. We've got nothing but energy around.
Nothing but energy. I'm going to catch up with you all. I just pulled out my carafe of a 1956 Crown Royal.
Whoa.
Yeah, before it was the sweet stuff. It was a beautiful, nice, spicy rye style. So I'm going to enjoy that.
It's really it's very funny you should say that, because I have an old bottle of Crown Royal.
Yeah?
Yes, sitting not too far away from where I am right now.
It's still in that satin box.
Yes, still in a satin box.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely delicious, and it does have a rye character to it, definitely.
So before we really get into the meat of it, we always start our episodes by asking our guest of honor, what is your desert island cocktail or drink? That is, if you're stranded on a desert island, what one drink do you need to have in your hand?
Man, I don't use the word basic often, but I'm sipping margaritas all day. A nice sour.
Yep.
Scotia salt margarita.
Ooh,
that nice creamy color, light green, just almost opaque, nice and refreshing and full of agave.
That is a really good one. And margaritas are one of my absolute favorite cocktails of all time. We've probably shared many a margarita, Tiffanie.
Yeah.
We have known each other for quite some time. What I did not know, though, is that not only are you a Houston native, but your family is mostly from Louisiana?
Yep. Yeah.
So and now you're in Hotlanta. So how did you get from where you were to where you are?
Man. So Houston and Lafayette are quite close. If anyone's been down I-10 in that area, it's a deep bayou, and crossing over the state line is a hop, skip, and a jump. Just a couple of road stops and you're there. So my school was in Houston, because education's way different in Houston than it is over in Louisiana. And every day on the last day of school, my mom and dad would drive me to Louisiana, and I'd spend my summers in the country. So I never knew what city life was during summertime. It was I only know country life. So when people say where are you from, I just say the Bayou. Houston is the Bayou city, and and Louisiana is the Bayou. And
Mm.
after high school, man, I heard about this place called Atlanta, and it was like the Mecca, and all kind of cool things were happening. My father had a slice of the '96 Olympics and brought me here to visit, and we kind of fell in love. It was a vibe here. It felt so nice. There's a lot of people that looked like me and sounded like me and definitely knew how to party and drink. And I didn't quite know it was going to go that way, but I actually applied for a job just to play, like goof off. My buddy and I thought it would be cool. We saw a now hiring sign and went, let's go pretend we're going to get a job. This is fresh out of college, and walked in and was hired on the spot. I was thrown behind the bar quickly, and I am still in love with that bar. I love people and I love cocktails, and Atlanta's got such a fantastic energy, and we've been in love ever since.
Oh,
Yes, one flew south.
was
Is
that
that
Woohoo!
was
is
that the
that
is that the bar you were talking about? No, probably not yet, or was it?
No, but you
No.
guys want to laugh really hard.
Please,
yes,
please,
please.
I
please,
got
desperately, like desperately. I really, really need to laugh really, really hard.
I also got one flew south by accident, goofing off. I can be quite silly. And a friend of mine actually read an article about this craft bar that was going to open in the airport and needed a ride. And I thought it'd be really cool if I was like, sure, I'll give you a ride. And I didn't want to make circles around the airport, and paying for parking was expensive, but I thought I'd make a thing of it. And so I put on a really cool dress and had fake luggage and took my buddy into the airport, parked while she stood in line for her interview. I pretended as if I was going to take a flight, but I guess I had this energy that let the then chef pay attention to me. And he said, "Hey, you're next to be interviewed." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, sure. Let's do it." And I left my fake luggage in the hallway and I went into the interview. And it was just like I'd met this man in a previous life. We talked for 45 minutes. And who'd have thought that that bar that I worked at changed my entire life? I opened that bar in 2007, and it's still a big part of my life.
Wow, 2007,
Yes.
and that was a craft cocktail bar.
That's when we just
Or
started using the word craft.
yeah,
We weren't, that word was kind of a joke here and there, but we were
hmm
doing it. We were doing it in an airport on top of that.
I mean, like, who would think? Like,
well,
what the heck?
that there was no decent airport bar anywhere in 2007, right?
You could not pay me to have a cocktail at an airport bar.
Right, right. Now it's different, but probably in part thanks to you, things have changed quite a bit.
Well, we made sure we could show you it could happen. We all were ready to do it, just really scared. We also opened during a recession. Uh,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
we opened during election year. Obama was actually getting ready to become president. It was a lot going on in America. The only thing we could mirror ourselves was a bar in Heathrow, London, that we
Yeah.
would just kind of go, they can do it. We can do it. And we did it. We opened the doors, and man, they're still open.
Yeah, and because of that, you won many awards just for your work in that establishment. James Beard nomination, Tastemaker of the South, uh, Best Airport Bar from Tales of the Cocktail. Uh, it's just incredible to think that such a place could exist at the Hartsfield Jackson Airport.
It's still unbelievable. We did receive
Yeah,
a lot of awards. We never knew who we were serving. We're also the airport here in Atlanta is the busiest and largest airport
yeah,
in the world.
yes,
100
Wow.
million people.
yeah.
And we had the nerve to have the number one airport restaurant and bar in the largest airport in the world. Ridiculous. There's not a day that goes 6 years in a row. Our awards just kept coming, and to be awarded best airport bar in the world to travel in continuously was mind blowing. James Beard was exciting for us as well. We didn't get that nomination for our cocktail program or chef's amazing menu. We got it for service, and that still is the pulse and the heartbeat for us.
So tell me a little bit about specifically the service aspect at One Flew South. You know, the philosophy, if you will.
Well, no one's in charge. The airlines are in charge. So there's a lot going on in a guest's mind when they are jumping on a flight. They have no idea. There's zombies in the airport. They have no idea what's going on. They are thinking about where they're going, where they came from, where is there some power outlet? Can I get a buzz? Where's the bathroom? It's
Mhm.
just, it's chaos. It's absolute chaos. And so when you know that is the everyday mindset of the guests, you have to be prepared for that. And so you've got to be extremely understanding and very humble and hospitable. Your kindness comes in a different way. You definitely don't ask the basic questions like, hey, how are you? Or you're just like, first question is, what time's your flight? And you will be amazed how many people just freeze then because they don't know. And so that part, they kind of get it together and they go, oh, well, my flight is, and they rumble and they fumble and then they tell you, and then you instantly know what you can do with that
Oh,
time. You
right,
instantly
right.
fix it. You go, well, okay, your flight's in an hour and a half. What concourse? And they figure that out too. By that point, your water is down, your silver rail's down. You are ready. You're moving while you're getting that person to figure out what the heck they're doing. And a menu could be placed down, or at that point of that comfortable 2 minute set, they're just so comfortable. Their shoulders relax and they look around like you're 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 talking to me, and it's very kind, and there's water right here, wow. And then they go, what should I do? And you say, well, you've got an hour and a half, or you've got 45 minutes or 10. How about I put in an amazing salmon dish and bring you out a glass of wine to pair with it? And they go, oh, okay, great, like we're
Yeah,
done. And then from
perfect.
that point on, they can do whatever they want, fumble on their phone or goof off or flirt or work, whatever they want to do while we execute what needs to happen.
I love that. I mean, that right there is the epitome of hospitality. You know, just being able to read the guest's mind without them saying anything in a way, and it's a very personal touch, which I love and appreciate anytime I go anywhere.
Yeah. I got chills right now thinking about it. It's so exciting to be kind, but when it's even more exciting to be kind during chaos, when you can see it, you can see what's happening, and you can just fill in the blank really quick. Before they know it, they're like, "Whoa, that we're done." I'm like, "We're done. We're done." It's like giving a shot, and you're so nervous, and you take the shot. And you're like, "We're
Yeah.
done." It's really exciting, and so that really gave us, and that was very consistent. I ran that service program and built out our model of getting to know the person. Jonathan knows I'm super passionate. I am a crybaby, and I get in my feelings, but that's okay. And especially during work, it's nice to get in your feelings sometimes because people are flying. You don't know what they're doing. It's not always work. It could be bad news. It could be good news. It could be you don't know what, but we can give you a great drink and something to eat. And I'm hugging too. Back when we could hug.
Yeah, you're
Remember
you're a
that?
hugger. I
Remember when we
remember.
could hug?
I
Yes,
remember. I remember that vividly, and I remember Tiffany hugs too. Those are good hugs.
and we will do it again.
We
Don't
will.
worry. Yes, we will. And one thing I didn't know about you, Tiffany, is your love of cocktail history. I didn't know that you were such an historian. And I wanted to ask you, how did you get involved in that? And what kinds of things do you read or collect and look for?
That's a fantastic question. Coming in the bartending game, every person I would sit at their bar and listen to them work or compete, they always told a story. I thought it was so cool because that's what we do as creatives behind the bar. We grab this bottle, it goes with that bottle, and there's a story behind it somehow, even if it's an obnoxious, random story. And I love a good story time at the bar. It's like circle time.
Yeah.
And I paid attention to even more fine details beyond just how a bottle was made, or I wanted to know more, like what was happening around that year when said spirit was being made. There's usually a war around because that was weird, but there was always a war. There is also always some marriage or a woman around, which was also very interesting. I just like jumping in that rabbit hole. We love doing cocktail history, but there's a lot of things that were going on while these cocktails were going on. So me and the rabbit hole get along well. My closest friends definitely call me Alice in Wonderland because I will go there and I will go all the way deep, and I find myself touching into encyclopedias, which is the first and foremost like what was going on at that time. But I read obituaries, I look at
Mhm.
census polls, like who was being arrested, I look at jail records, who was being arrested and why. So that got me heavy into bootlegging and Kentucky whiskey, like those kind of things. Church records, you name it,
Mhm.
I'm on it. And being a Black woman, there's a little history that is hard to find. So I dig even harder to figure out, what was this culture doing? What was happening? And I just can't stop reading about stuff. It's really nice to share the narratives of multiple cultures and ingredients and stuff like that. Like we just didn't come up with cocktails, and agriculture is pretty neato. I mean, this is from the earth. So I don't know how I got here, Dad. I just started reading.
Well, I love walking through old cemeteries myself,
Yes.
but I do. I do that frequently. But I also love collecting cocktail books, which I've been doing since, I don't know, the 19 late 1980s, early 1990s. So I'm obsessed with that, going back into history and seeing who created which cocktails.
Dad is
Yeah.
obsessed. Dad is obsessed with several things, including the cocktail book collecting, but also menu collecting.
Oh yes,
Um,
yes,
he
yes,
has a ginormous stash of menus.
yes.
um,
Restaurant menus, bar
yeah,
menus, cocktail menus, yeah,
You're so cool,
everything.
Dad.
isn't he cool? He's the
My father
coolest.
my father collected coasters.
Ah,
Hmm,
So he didn't
very
take
good.
the whole menu, but he definitely took the coaster. And if it had ring marks on it, watermarks, that just showed the story.
Yeah,
You could actually remember it or smell it, which was odd but cool. That was a beer night, or that was a whiskey night, or that was I was in a cigar bar, things like that. It was super cool. And bottle caps were something cool that I would do for a while, but then it gets
yes,
junky.
yes,
And things like that. So I love collecting
yeah.
your faves. That's neat.
And thanks to my parents, I happen to have another collection that Jonathan probably doesn't even know about, and that's a
gold. Oh,
not gold, matchbook
oh,
collection from all of the great restaurants of New York in the from the 1950s, 1940s on, because they went to all of the great restaurants in New York and in other parts of the country as well. So everywhere they went, they took matchbooks.
it'll go to the museum. It'll go in the
So
museum.
it's
That's where it'll
it's
go.
part of the museum already.
It's the
Yes,
Pogash collection.
yes.
Um, what
That's
I love,
cool.
so part of the philosophy of this podcast is the convergence or the intersection of food, drink, and culture. And
Hmm.
what I love about cocktail history is that it's culture, and that is something that you have been focusing on. Specifically, I think with a focus on the South and the culture of the South and ingredients of the South and the people of the South. And I'm just thinking about it all as we kind of approach the holidays and ingredients, and we're like stuffing our faces with what we think are foods that are native or indigenous, or that we give thanks to. Who are we really giving thanks to when we're consuming these food and liquid ingredients? And I think I've seen from some of your posts you have some done research on specific ingredients and who they tie into and what culture and all of that. Is there sort of one or two specific ingredients that you find fascinating?
Pecans.
Mm, mm. Yes,
Pecans.
pecan pie.
Oh my
Oh yeah,
God, pecans.
yeah.
Pecans, it brings nostalgia to in just about anybody.
Hmm.
But when I think about how pecans became an American snackum, it's a little different because pecans weren't really grown all over. I mean, they were, we just didn't discover it. And so Thomas Jefferson had some quite very interesting enslaved people. I mean, I don't talk many great things about that gentleman, but he had some cool things come out of his place here in America. And he had a lot of botanists on the ground, and he had a lot of great grafters. And there's a gentleman who was grafting the pecan because Thomas Jefferson loved to party and he loved to invite anybody to the house that was not from America, so he could show off his land. And they would bring these gifts from their land, and the pecan was here, and he would tell his help, make that happen here. Like, show me how we can make cider here, show me how we can have cool tea, how we can have pecans. And we did it. So it started off with grafting a certain pecan into that tree and watching it grow and learning how it could be what it is. The pecan was so cool that it was inducted in a world fair and won best pecan of the year. Like, I'd love to go to that festival. But it was
Yeah.
looked at as one of the coolest, tastiest nuts that were here, and I think that that's kind of neat because pecans grow on a tree, of course we know, but growing it is not easy. Has anyone tried to grow a pecan before? Not easy at all. And the fact that this man had fields and acres of it was pretty neato, and it was done by a black man. I just find it so neat. And then that grafting, of course, stretched and stretched and stretched, and now we can see pecan trees all over the place. And but then having it in, obviously, in a liquid form, or adding it into foods or pies and cakes, candies, it's kind of neato. That is an old good story and a good combination of what our people from the past, our ancestors, did to make us enjoy things now. Those are the fun stories I like to share.
And Tiffany, what has influenced you most when it comes to cocktail making?
Hmm.
Is it a particular region in the United States, or is it a particular type of ingredient?
The South. I'm so in love with the South. Just, I am from the South, but I just love how much land and how much we can grow in the South. What we can do to it, from fermenting it to distilling it to jamming it and jarring it. There's so many things
Mhm.
that we can do with one ingredient, and I love that. That's usually my style of cocktails. Very simple, but very balanced, using said ingredient multiple times if possible. The South is just a thrive for me, and the South has a yucky history. So, like, highlighting those great parts is what keeps me going, keeps me motivated to keep the South on the map.
Mm, absolutely. Are you a fan of mint juleps?
Of course, of
Good.
course. Ah,
Good. Then you're my friend.
we could mint
That's
julep all the time. Making the mint julep, Jonathan and I made mint juleps together a year ago, I believe.
Yeah, it was like right at the beginning of the pandemic. I think I was doing Instagram lives, and my Facebook live show that I had
Yeah,
yeah, we did a mid julep.
there's some really cool juleps out there. I mean, we know the stories and the connection to it, to the Derby, but I've been researching cocktails, especially the mint julep, for the past year with a
mhm. Oh,
collaboration
yeah.
I'm doing with Tony Tipton Martin. And there are multiple mint juleps. Some have rum in there, some have brandy,
Yes.
some have, whiskey. We just
And
need a ground.
some have peach schnapps.
Yes, they do. Some have pineapple syrup. Some
Yeah.
have, I mean, it's a party to see a mint julep come out, and to see the caterers from that time not only create their style of mint julep, but to make this like the American cocktail. Like,
Mm.
Charles Dickens came to America. They said he hated Virginia, but he had to go to Dabney's spot and get this mint julep. He couldn't understand, like, what is this thing these people are drinking? And to see mint and whiskey meet each other was just like amazing.
Yeah,
That's a Southern vibe right there.
and you
Yeah.
you said you mentioned Dabney. Can you tell us a little quick little bit about Dabney? Who was that?
Super cool. Enslaved gentleman who bought his freedom eventually, but Dabney was a really cool equestrian and caterer. His family and him were enslaved when he was quite young, but he was kind of spunky. His owners would let him come into the bar and work and do the bar work, the bar back work under the age of 10. And he just was incredible. He spoke two to three different languages. And for that to happen, for at that time you call it the help, for that young gentleman to be able to speak so articulately and multiple languages, they had to put him in the front of the room. So he was making cocktails before he should have been. There was no age limits then, and he was rocking it out. Emancipation Proclamation happened. Freedom happened, and John was like, I don't know what to do. I mean, can you imagine not being free and all of a sudden they say you're free? You're like, well, where do I go? What do I do? I
Right.
don't.
Right.
There's nowhere really to go, and he really had a great following. A lot of great regulars that came to see him at the saloon. And so he saved up his coin. There also was a point where you could save up and buy freedom. And he saved up enough money to free his wife and kids. He
Wow.
also saved up enough money that he opened his own catering spot. So this time frame of cocktail making and being served was unique. I mean, unfortunately, you mainly saw a black man or woman making cocktails, and there were white men making cocktails also, but this black guy's over here crushing it, and he's crushing it pretty solid. And so he's the person of choice. He has a beautiful bar, and he's also a chef and a hell of a team to rock out some of the best mint juleps in Virginia at the time, Richmond at the time. And he was the go-to spot for the julep. He would garnish it with all kinds of fruits and berries from his backyard garden, and he was the go-to. Again, he was just that guy. He died in debt, but he left a really great legacy. I've met his great 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 grandson about 5 years ago in Richmond.
Really?
We did a mint julep competition with an amazing historian group in Richmond, and we found his descendants. The kid had no idea who his great great grandfather was.
Oh my God.
He's a college kid. He had no idea. I mean, he saw pictures, but he didn't understand the magnitude that is his great great grandfather had put the mint julep on the map for Richmond. And super cool event. I drank a lot of juleps that weekend.
Wow.
A lot of juleps.
Well, please invite us to your next mint julep event.
Yeah, we drink them all year round. I really
Mm.
enjoy making them with Jamaican rum and
Mhm.
peach brandy more than I
Yep.
do
Oh
whiskey,
yeah.
honestly.
Yep. Yep.
And speaking of events, kind of moving forward a little bit, we all know that we've been well, you and I know we've been doing a lot of virtual events these days, and I have to say you have done a marvelous job leading dozens and dozens of virtual happy hours for yourself and your clients, but also for the Cocktail Guru. What are your I'd love to know, what are your thoughts on doing these classes virtually these days? What is sort of the what are your thoughts?
I love it. I love it. Last year when it was all we were doing and it was 4 or 5 a day, 6 a day, it definitely burned a little bit. There was a little
Yeah.
bit of Zoom burnout, and it would be actually a lonely moment after the day was over and you say bye to these people and it got back to this silence. It did get a little odd, but it did, or however shall I say, it did bring a good energy to bartending. I'm bartending at home to perfect strangers. I was grateful to log on and not know anybody that was on my screen. And before you know it, we were all best friends in an hour, or double fisted, or triple fisted for those awesome clients, or day drinking, or
Hmm.
I love it. I did not think I'd love the virtual world as much as I did, but I love connecting across the world, across I just love connecting with perfect strangers. They used to come to you and sit at your bar, and now they can come to your laptop. I think it's pretty freaking cool. I enjoy it. The network, the word of mouth has been so exciting, and I'm fueled. When we hang up, I'm like, they're amazing. That was so fun because there's just we're relaxing. I always make sure people are barefoot or in flip flops or in fuzzy slippers before we get started. Like, Let's get into this thing.
Oh,
I check
that's
in. I
cool.
mean,
Now,
the desk is the new bar, and I
now,
love it.
Dad just did a wine and chocolate virtual for us last week, and I cannot imagine my father asking people to be barefoot and put on fuzzy slippers.
No,
As they do.
that's one thing I didn't ask them to do. No, but I was shocked. I am shocked at how much I enjoy doing these virtual tastings. I
Yeah,
never thought I could get into it. From a technical standpoint, I thought it would be an enormous challenge that
It
I wouldn't
was.
be able to overcome.
It was a
But I
challenge for you, Dad, but we did overcome it.
but I overcame it. It took a lot of work, but I overcame it. And I just love doing it. And the anonymity is quite interesting. But
yeah,
I think I would prefer to be in a large room. There were 160 people for this online tasting that I did, but I think I'd prefer to be in a room with 160 people talking to them directly, which again we hope we'll be able to do soon.
for
But
sure.
I think the virtual event is possibly here to stay.
I want it to stay. Through Jonathan, my own self, people want to see me. And, remember I used to work at an airport where people would fly all over the world to see me. And it feels like that all over again, just in a different form, just a more modern form where I can speak to someone that's not local. Because when I worked in the airport, no one lived in Atlanta at my bar. No one. It'd be
Mhm.
a shocker to see someone that was actually from Atlanta at the bar. So it's really cool to log on to with people in a different time zone, in their houses. There's a really, really, for me, being the bartender and educator, it's really nice and intimate to connect with them in their home, the comfort of their home. That's why I'm like, hey, I'm in my Birkenstocks. Are you? Are you in your fuzzy slippers? And they're like, I am. And I'm like, let's do this thing. And it's just exciting. We want to be hospitable at all times in the virtual world. There's nothing says hospitality, but at home, like being at home. So it's cool.
And you really do put on a great show, and you're so comforting and welcoming and talented and educational at the same time and fun. And if I was doing a virtual event, I would want Tiffanie as my instructor every single time.
And you're very cool, Tiffanie. Very cool. Love
Hey,
it.
thanks,
Cool.
Dad.
Yeah.
Well, Tiffanie Barriere, thank you so very much for joining us. This has been amazing.
This was
thank,
amazing.
thank you, Tiffanie.
It was
Thank
a
you very much.
pleasure. It was a pleasure. Happy Tuesday.
Happy.
Happy Tuesday.
Take care.
Bye. That does it for today's show. To learn more about future guests, visit thecocktailguru.com or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
The Cocktail Guru podcast is produced by First Reel Entertainment and distributed by EatsDrinksTV, a service of the Center for Culinary Culture, home of the Cocktail Collection, and is available via Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google, and wherever fine podcasts can be heard.